Bill, you can't just play another mono blue deck for the third day in a row. Haha, watch me, nerds. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today Damien has asked me to play with 8cast. Or I guess what we are going to call 8cast. The deck does not have the full 8 Thoughtcast effects anymore, at least not as Damien has built it. I made just a few small edits to this deck list. So, generally speaking, this deck is built around Patchwork Automaton. You want to cast a ton of spells and hopefully just singularly win the game with this threat. Amory allows you to recur all of your cheap artifacts, and you are playing Stock Up and Thoughtcast as ways to keep the cards flowing, and then you are going to have an aggressive 3/4 flyer that conveniently happens to wall opposing threats like Dragon's Rage Channeler and Delver of Secrets. Now, Damien's list originally had 2 Wastelands in the mana base, which I think is greedy. I understand wanting to have the Wastelands to follow up Patchwork Automaton, but I don't know that you get to be the Ancient Tomb deck that is also the Urza Saga deck that is playing largely blue cards here. This is not a colorless deck first, this is a blue deck first. So I added 2 more basic islands to the deck, and there was one other flex land that was colorless. I think it's called Inventor's Fair. It lets you tutor up an artifact and put it in your hand. I replaced that with Minamo. This was something I messed around with in the Painter deck that I 5-0'd with yesterday, and I don't know that it came up in the video, but the ability to Emery recur Bauble multiple times in a turn is a cool way to dig yourself out of a bad spot. Now, if I were to build this deck from scratch myself, I think I would be playing a playset of this. I cut some flex slot in Damien's build because I wanted to try one of these out. I think these Corey Steel Cutter style cards are quite powerful, and I am very interested to see this one in action. I feel like this is another good thing that you can power out, sort of like Patchwork Automaton, and it gives you redundancy. I believe I cut a Lorien Revealed for that. I don't think you are getting to 5 mana to hardcast that. Like, sometimes it's hard enough to cast a Thoughtcast when it's like 3 mana. So I think Lorien Revealed was just too ambitious. Now, we have a couple of cute pieces of tech here, and we'll see how good they are. The first is the Warring Triad, which is theoretically a 3 mana 5/5 flying trample haste, which sounds great. But that does require that there are 8 or more cards in your graveyard. You get to mill a card and add some mana, so like the ability is, or rather the card is not dead before it is a creature, and it does sort of self-enable. This is your Reality Smasher or your Ball Lightning in terms of a role. And then we have Mockingbird here, which is something that I considered cutting, but it is an out to Orcish Bowmasters, which felt problematic for me when I was playing Painter, so I don't think I mind keeping this around. As far as the sideboard goes here, I like most of what I see. The numbers seem reasonable. When you build these decks, there's always the argument of how much of this stuff should be in the main deck versus in the sideboard. How many slots do you need to take up? The big one that I'm not sure about is Crucible of Worlds. The format's so fast right now. And Crucible tends to be good in like very long controlling games, like versus Up the Beanstalk type stuff, and that's just not super popular right now. Like recurring Urza Saga Forever is powerful. Is this the best use of the sideboard slots? I don't really know. But we did really well with the deck that looked like this one yesterday, so let's try this one out. Folks, should you need any Magic cards, please consider checking out my sponsor, TOAMagic.com. Promo code ThrabenU saves you 5% on your order. They've got like 100,000 cards on their website. They've got sweet legacy, dual lands, high-end stuff, and even standard cards too. Whatever you need, TOA will probably have it, and you don't jump through all the hoops of getting your stuff from a billion different envelopes, like you might from other vendors. With that being said, let's battle. Alright, I'm on the play for this game. My opponent has told me that they are ready to lock in, so Cow Panda, play well. Make me proud. My opening hand, honestly, is really good here. I am on the play. I get a Patchwork Automaton that scales up twice on turn 1, and I get to play Stock Up on turn 2. If there is an absolute emergency, I can cast this Force of Will that is in my hand, but I really, really, really don't want to lose this Stock Up. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Nice. Let's just always yield to that. We are going to have a big boy. As a reminder, this does have Ward 2. So the Fatal Push, Swords to Plowshares type cards do not get to answer this immediately, which is what makes it such a nice threat within the context of Legacy. Got an Urza Saga on the other side of the battlefield. I think I play Mox Opal first here, in case I draw Urza's Saga off of Stock Up, which I will go ahead and cast. Oh, hey, it's Urza's Saga. Exactly as I planned out. All right, we're going to take Sink into Stupor as my blue card here. Play out an Urza Saga. Bash in for 4, and the constructs that I make are going to be bigger than my opponent's constructs. So the worry now is that they are an unfair, like, one-ring combo deck, or that they're like Painter and I get goldfished. You get that. Oh no. I get another Stock Up. Can I cast that? I mean, I could. I lose Lotus Petal to do that. That seems fine. Memory Guardian. Memory Guardian is immediately playable technically, but then I don't make an Urza Saga construct token, so I don't think I am into that. I think I'm just going to take this Bobble, redraw, and Memory Guardian. So I will play this. Look at the top card of your library. It is a Mox Opal. Got it. I'm going to go ahead and send in for 5. And now I have Force of Will, pitching Memory Guardian. I'm going to activate my Urza Saga here on the off chance that a Pithing Needle on Urza Saga is incoming. And this is going to be lethal next turn. We've got 2 keys. I need to Force of Will something like a Vault that comes down. Sorry, a Grim Monolith that comes down. Yeah, you can have that. I'm just going to hit the payoff card here. Yep. Yeah, that is exactly what I was looking to Force of Will. So this should stop my opponent, and then I have onboard lethal after I make this other construct token. So I guess I'm wondering why my opponent kept their hand. Did they keep on 6? They kept on 6. They kept Urza Saga, which is a singularly disappearing land, and a key. If there was a Grim Monolith in that hand that I just didn't see, I think that's reasonable. But if you have Grim Monolith, you probably play that before Basalt Monolith. I'm not sure that that was actually there. All right, we are probably playing against one ring combo here. I like Disruptor Flute and Pithing Needle for 1 ring. Harbinger of the Seas is not crazy. I might end up playing some of this sort of stuff. An opponent says my hand did not pan out. Agreed. So I don't want Tormod's Crypt. Chalice of the Void, especially on the draw, is probably questionable. And my opponent is not going to have too many creatures for me to copy. Mockingbird is probably weak here. It can do things like copy Patchwork Automaton or a Construct token, I suppose. But if I can cut this, I probably will. We will do a couple of things that hedge against some Construct tokens a little bit. I kind of want Dismembers for Glaring Fleshraker. Maybe I go through opposing Construct tokens. That gets me both of these, and then Harbinger of the Seas. Maybe Harbinger of the Seas is slow on the draw, or maybe I could cut the Warring Triad. I have a medium opening hand. I think I'm going to keep it. I think Force of Will on the first payoff card, or maybe sometimes the first big mana card can matter a lot. Lotus Petal is fine. So now is the choice, like, do I try to hit my opponent in the mana when they already have half of a 4 mana producing thing? I don't think so. Lotus Petal. Got like a turn 1 Karn. We have a turn 1 Karn. I will happily Force a Will. Karn is very problematic, and part of the reason I added extra islands into the deck. Alright, so what am I drawing? I am drawing Disruptor Flute. What are you drawing? You are drawing Candelabra. I'll play basic island and pass here. I get 2 redraws. I know one of them is Disruptor Flute. Shadow Spear is a little mid. Alright. Mana was not the bottleneck. This is fine. Now, my opponent can play a big mana card, but it looks like they don't have it here, which is good for me. I believe it is now Urza's Saga time. I don't think I need to play out Lotus Petal. I can hold that until I need it. We're going to hold Disruptor Flute for a little while. Opponent can untap their lands and then untap their Grim Monolith. Oh, instead it's Kozilek's command. You've got it. Bottom, bottom, bottom. Lucky for us. I am gonna respond to that one. We're just gonna say no to that. Disruptor Flute absolutely coming in clutch there. 1 artifact, 2 artifacts, 3 artifacts, 4 artifacts, costs 1 mana. As long as I do this now. Guess I can play the Lotus Petal first, I'm not sure that it matters. So 4/4, 1 mana, Memory Guardian. Alright, my opponent has their own Urza's Saga and a Voltaic Key. Once these trample, they're kind of cool. So we're going to go bam. I think at this point, honestly, I just Pithing Needle Urza's Saga. Yeah. We shut off the One Ring. We have shut off Urza's Saga. I get a 1 mana draw 2. Get to do this immediately. I'm going to crash in for 3 points of damage and kill an Eldrazi spawn. Yep. Next turn, I get to start trampling. See what my opponent is drawing. It is another Urza's Saga. Oh, bad luck, Cow Panda. Bad luck. We're a little late in the game for Patchwork Automaton to matter too much. We have gotten the GGs here. That was a very, very dominant showing from my deck here. But I do want to point out that if we don't have the Disruptor Flute in response to that 1 ring there, my opponent gets another Ancestral worth of value over the course of 2 turns, and they have so much mana and a bunch of scary bombs. I think it was very, very easy for this one to go south, even though it didn't this time. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. If you want to see upcoming sets, if you want to understand commander brackets, or if you just want an awesome place to store all, and I mean all, of your deck lists, Moxfield is the place. You can organize all of your decks by folders, and you can even change the views. You like visual, they've got that. You like text, they've got that. Check out my Moxfield Pro Field if you want to see all, and I mean all, of the decks that I've been cooking up. Ooh, this is a weird one. So we have the turn 1 Patchwork Automaton backed by Force of Will. We don't have follow-up artifacts. We do have Urza's Saga and Force of Will. With a blue source, I can copy Patchwork Automaton. I think this is better than the average 6, but it's a little weird. Got a polluted Delta deck of some kind. Okay, there is the blue source. This is fine. I am going to go ahead and do this dazedly. Don't know that you get to just casually wait and play around Daze Blind in the current format where you can just die on turn 2 to Entomb Reanimate. We're forcing here. Force of Will, pitching Memory Guardian. I just don't want this in the graveyard and have to conceptually counter every single reanimation spell for the rest of the game. Alright. Archon in graveyard. Underground Sea. And there's the reanimate. We're pretty dead to that. I have 1 Sink into Stupor that can bounce that out of play. I guess I have Aether Spellbomb. No, that's not what. I guess I could draw it. Can't get to it this way. Mockingbird is now not really doing anything. I am not getting to this much mana to copy it. I guess I don't ever need second Ancient Tomb though. Yeah, but this is just going to kill me in 2 attack steps. Okay. That's a start. So this is Legacy. So I will pick up 2 Fairy Macabres to try to stop that from happening again. Oh, I don't have the Aether Spellbomb in game 1. We'll bring that in. I could Pithing Needle for Wasteland. I'm not sure that that's going to make sense. This is a little slow here. My chalices aren't amazing. Dismember matters for some of the juke plans and things like Bowmasters. I am a little unsure what I want to do about boarding in cards here. Because my graveyard hate matters, my threats matter, my counterspells matter. It's kind of everything. I don't know that I get to go down on Thoughtcasts, because I think I 2-for-1 myself a lot to get out of the early game. So, like, what is expendable here? Do I do threats? Do I go down Memory Guardian? Yeah, maybe we go down threats. This is threat light in a way that I'm not the biggest fan of, but hopefully Urza Saga helps me kind of carry that. Urza Saga, Spellbomb, Mox Opal do not have Metalcraft, do not have land for this, do not have the ability to play turn 1 Emery. This is so close. I think I will mulligan it. Oh no. Oh wait, this is a land. Is this as bad as it looks? It's not great. So I can get the Patchwork Automaton into play and then scale it up. Or we play turn 1 Chalice of the Void with Force of Will and Fairy Macabre backup pitching Automaton. And we hope to draw both lands and a threat. I don't know that it makes sense to go to 5, but I am a little unhappy. So, Petal. Take 3 to my lands and throw down a Chalice of the Void. Now, something that I've said a lot is that lock pieces like Chalice of the Void and Blood Moon do not go as far as they used to. I am fully not expecting this to be a game-winning play. I am hoping that it slows things down enough that I can get my threats into play. But that is very much a hope. Opponent fetches their Surveil land. An opponent humorously says, I have to say, I'm not very proud of my deck selection, but you've got to know the enemy to beat it. Totally agreed. All right, no castable cards right now. For those of you who are taking like Legacy seriously in a tournament capacity right now, like play some blue-black Reanimator. Make sure you understand that deck. It is absolutely everywhere, and there are massive advantages to playing a deck so that you understand what the deck is capable of and where kind of the weak points are. This is great. Emery is now 1 mana. Do I Force of Will to protect this if it hits play is more interesting. That stuff in the graveyard is not the best. I get to recur a Lotus Petal. I mean, eventually I'll find a Bauble or something, but we could have hit better there. Opponent has gone to clean up, discarding a Tameo. I'm going to go ahead and play that Lotus Petal, and this is going to let me cast a stock up around Daze, which I believe is correct to do, even though I could hit Urza Saga here. All right, I am getting dazed. I'll trade for the Lotus Petal. That might just be my opponent wanting to reuse their Surveil land, which is what we see. Totally in for Bauble, and I'll take Thoughtcast as my other one. Change phases, and then I'm going to go ahead and take my Bauble redraw. Opponent getting another land, which I am a fan of. Spellbomb, not the best pickup. Now opponent gets to reuse their Surveil land, and they are not like doing something like an Animate Dead on a Tameo here. All right, how much does Memory Guardian cost right now? It costs 3. Let's make it cost 2 by throwing a Bauble into play. Then 1 and 2, throw this down. I think I will go ahead and go for this. I have Force of Will for Bowmasters if need be. Okay, cool. Go ahead and see what my opponent is drawing next. It is a Brazen Borrower. That is obviously a strong card here. It appears that my opponent's hand is very 1-drop heavy. I pick up a Mox Opal. The opponent is not going for anything immediately, which means that I get to Metallic Rebuke. Big fan of that happening. Thoughtcast now? Thoughtcast now. Eat your heart out, Brazen Borrower. We'll get a Lotus Petal. I will cast a Lotus Petal. I will cast a second Chalice of the Void on 1. Ooh, that is a Consign to Memory. My opponent will replicate this, and the replicated one is not going to be countered here. Is this my Metallic Rebuke moment? Then my opponent can't just Brazen Borrower 1 out of play. Blue and tap. And I think I'll just tap the Bauble here. So Chalice trigger counters the other Consign. Then this Chalice is going to resolve, presumably. And now I will start beating down my opponent with a 3/4 flyer. And we'll see what my opponent presumably wants to do about this whole Brazen Borrower thing. They're going to bounce one out of play. I think that's fine. I don't think I need to act on that. I don't think I am that scared of this body. I'd rather Force of Will, like a Goyf that would come down. Okay, it's going back to my turn. Another Force of Will as draw. Love it. I'm going to go ahead and send in with my 3/4 flyer here. Opponent is at 12. I will go ahead and see what you're drawing. Wasteland is fine. I will get another bauble. See what I'm drawing. Boots. Boots not great right now. I will go ahead and throw down another Chalice on one in case we are walking into a like double Brazen Borrower situation. That has resolved. I think we're just good here, assuming that I do multiple Force of Wills in the next turn cycle. Yeah, that's fine. I don't think that's worth a Force of Will, even though that has real text. Draw 2. The first one's dead. The second one's solid. My opponent has that Wasteland, which I assume is going to go after this. They could hold it for an Urza Saga, because a Saga would be devastating right now. It looks like that's what's happening. All right, I'll take 3. I am at 14. So, it is Patchwork time. I think my opponent started to tap for Force of Will and was just like, no, I'm out. There's so many cards in hand over there. That was game 2, right? Chalice in multiples there was very good. One of the issues when I'm on the draw is that Entomb can come down before Chalice comes down, and then Animate Dead is just live to win the game. Do I need a couple more threats? As we are at 4 Patchwork, 4 Urza Saga, 1 Memory Guardian as things that literally win the game. It might be Threat Light. I guess there's Mockingbird. That's not necessarily a standalone threat. I'm going to do this. I think I'm going to keep this, but I don't love that most of my mana is temporary. And there's definitely some like order of operations in like, in which order do I cast the Patchwork Automaton and the Chalice of the Void? And do I play around days for that matter? I think I'm doing the Chalice on turn 2. I think I am trying to get Patchwork Automaton to eat Consign right here. So yeah, it is days instead. That's fine. We did not play around days intentionally because playing the Lotus Petal later scales up Patchwork Automaton. Now I will go ahead and play these out. And I've got a Tormod's Crypt in play as a safety net versus Reanimator nonsense. Delta comes down. Opponent passes the turn. I'm going to take some damage here. The Chalice of the Void. I guess I play this first. I will throw down a Chalice on 1. That is Force of Negation, pitching Force of Will. Is this worth both Lotus Petals? I don't think so. The advantage to doing it right now is that I know Orcish Bowmasters does not get involved. But my affinity count absolutely matters. Yes. Alright. You got Bowboy? Fuck. I don't regret it. Or the Memory Guardian type cards that are in the deck. I absolutely need to respect my artifact count. I will get a Patchwork Automaton into play. I don't have any gas right now, though. Wasteland is fine. I hope my opponent uses it. Alright, I got nothing. You shocked yourself and discarded a card. So I imagine I will get attacked here. I am at the lower life total, and my opponent has the bigger creature. I am handily losing on the current board. So, maybe opponent clicks on Patchwork Automaton and I get some free rolls with these Orcish Bowmaster triggers. Please forget about Ward. They did not forget about Ward. I didn't draw something like a Dismember that would be an out for this. My Chalice of the Void certainly is not winning me the game here. And in fact, playing it is a little bit awkward. I'm going to do it, but if my next draw is Aether Spellbomb specifically for bouncing that Orc Army token out of the way, it will feel real bad. I already have this land in play, so that's not an out to this token. Thank you, Magic Online. I am eating 5 damage here, going to 4. I'll chump block next turn if I need to. I think at the point where I chump block with this, the game is over, and I have effectively lost. I get Wastelanded. That's fine. I think the time frame of this game is now very small. This is another card that triggers Orcish Bowmasters. Don't love that. I think I will take my draw on it immediately. Alright, Tamiyo is coming. That's a dead card because of Chalice, but I don't know that, again, that matters. Redraw is a new Patchwork Automaton. That's technically another chump blocker for the Orc army. This should potentially attack here as well, right? Like, I'm not expected to have flash creatures that can block this, and this is a mandatory block. If you think I have more of these, though, that doesn't make sense. Another Wasteland. So I can now play Patchwork Automaton and block this again. There's much of a point of scaling this up. I think if my opponent has another Bowmaster, they are just fully going to beat me already, right? They ping me to 2, they attack with 3 different bodies, and I can't block. So scaling this up to get around a Bowmaster ping is not useful. Opponent left a card on top. That's bad. Kaito? Orcish Bowmasters and something else. I don't have the mana to hardcast this Force of Will. Oh, I see, just prepaying for this. That'll do it. GG's. I mean, we just got by Reanimator. Opponent says sorry. Yeah, it's all good. Alright, opening hand has 2 colorless mana and no ability to cast our 4 different blue spells. And this is why I took out some of the flex slot colorless lands. We're gonna just very clearly mulligan that one. I mean, on 6 it's probably a keep, but we are very much hoping that Chalice of the Void does some heavy lifting. So we will pedal, seat, and this is a lock piece with an Urza Saga to follow it up, but there's a big difference between like this backed by a Force of Will and this not backed by a Force of Will. And I know I just put a Force on the bottom, but I think I need to keep at minimum both of these. And this is my reach versus fair stuff and my Wasteland insurance. So I am like happy with the way that I played that out. Oh, I mean, if I could have picked a draw, Emery probably would have been it there. I think Emery is just perfectly castable off of those. And now I have Lotus Petal from Graveyard. Would be better, but we'll take it. Looks like we are probably playing against Reanimator again. All right, this is a little too much Lotus Petal. I will take the Lotus Petal over just attacking for 1 with Emery here. I don't think I need to cast a second one right now in case I draw a Patchwork Automaton later. Opponent will probably Surveil here, and junks a Ponder, which is currently a dead card. Second land drop, and opponent passes the turn. Lava Spur Boots is a pretty terrible draw right now. I play Urza Saga. Then next turn I use Seat and Pedal to tap Urza Saga. I use second Pedal to activate other Urza Saga, maybe recurring a Pedal from Graveyard. Okay, I think it's fine to play this out. I will go, yeah. I think now that I am intending on using this mana, I just go ahead and cast this. I'm not going to attack with Emery. I don't want to lose Emery to Bowmasters if my opponent has it, which they might. And versus Bowmasters, that is where I would like to have... Oh, it's Petty Theft instead, sure. That is where I would like to have the Game 1 Shadow Spear. So now my opponent gets to cast their stuff, and this is what I was talking about with like there being a big difference between a Chalice backed by a Force and a Chalice not backed by a Force. So now my opponent gets to sculpt, and I could just be eating immediate Archon of Cruelty, even after Brainstorm, just Entomb Reanimate. It is a second Brainstorm, though. That means the scariest things aren't happening this turn, and hopefully means that I just hit my opponent for a very large amount with Construct tokens. I have Lava Spur Boots in hand. I also kind of want to redeploy the Chalice. I think I'm going to need to see what I draw. Never mind. Ooh, it is the Boots instead. Which I can cast from Graveyard. Multiple Chalices. So assuming I make 1 construct, that's 5 5s, 6 6s, 7 7s, plus 1 lethal? No, because I lose artifacts from Lotus Petal. I think I am not making 2 constructs. I think I am getting in with haste here. So let's go bam. I get Mox Opal. Mox Opal lethal. So they are 6 6s. I'll at the very least shut off Reanimate. Do I hit for 13? No, I play Chalice of the Void, and it's lethal, assuming no counterspell. Okay. So Mox Opal, target Lava Spur Boots, put Boots into play. Ooh, there is the counterspell. Understood. So then I will attack for 6. Put my opponent to 8. I think this is worth the 2 Lotus Petals. Let's do the Chalice on 1. Okay. Opponent has 4 lands, 3 cards remaining. Has an 8/8 Marktide Regent, which I will answer with an Aether Spellbomb. Wait, is this game 1? Do I have Spellbomb? F, I don't have Spellbomb. Do I have Lethal anyway? 6/6s, 7/7s. Play a Petal from Graveyard, 8/8s. Play a Chalice on 0, 9/9s. Yes, I have Lethal anyway. Okay. That means that I do use my mana like this. Grab like Tormod's Crypt here. Target a Lotus Petal. Past that. These are 8/8s. I think to play around a 2-mana removal spell, I do need to put Chalice on 0 so that this is still an 8/8 if a traditional removal spell happens. Okay. Send them. Oh, it's still alive. Insane. Okay. I mean, this is exactly what I played around, right? So now my opponent can block and trade with this construct token. And I think I'll call it good there. I could Tormod's Crypt this right now. 5th land. Hopefully opponent is dead. Alright, they are. It is insane that I shut down roughly a third of my opponent's deck for most of that game. And they still were that scary. Like, they created an 8/8 creature, played 2 Brazen Borrowers, had 6 more potential power in the air. Deck's good. What did we do last time? Fairy in, Spellbomb in. I think we were thinking about Dismembers. I'll think about this. I don't think it made it into the deck last time. If memory serves, I was feeling like I was a little threat light. I went back and forth on this card and ended up with it out. I think I cut this as well. And then I went down a bunch of Memory Guardians, I think, and then ended up bringing some back in. I could go down Thoughtcast instead, since it's bad versus Bowmasters like we saw at the tail end of the other game. Just like be very reliant on Urza's Saga to close out games. This is a medium looking opening hand. Let's figure out how this plays out. So if I do Patchwork Automaton on turn 1, I scale it up twice immediately and probably have Metallic Rebuke available on my turn 2. But I don't have the best options versus just Entomb Reanimate. Alright, that's resolving. So bam, bam. It's really important that this resolves. Oh, hell yeah. Now this means that I can cycle both of these baubles before Bowmaster comes down. What do you got? Reanimate coming. Okay. Hopefully you don't have the Entomb. What do I have coming? Urza's Saga. Okay. I get Urza's Saga and a Spellbomb. Okay. That's totally solid. Do you have the Entomb? I really hope not. If they do, they're not doing it immediately. But to have Metallic Rebuke available, I need to not attack. Doesn't feel great. It's very hard for me to use as Metallic Rebuke this game if I want to be as offensive as possible and do Urza Saga stuff. I think I'm going to wait a turn on Urza's Saga. So let's do Aether Spellbomb. Let's do the boots. This is a hefty amount of damage, but again, like Bowmaster can come down, get a couple of chump blocks, and really cut my aggro options. Alright, opponent is just drawing a card. We have some counterplay versus Entomb Reanimate now. It is a Wasteland. We'll see how my opponent uses that. Like, they could just take out my Minamo, or they could be holding it for an Urza's Saga. Or they might need it for mana, like they are actively cracking clues, right? How much do you cost? You cost 2. I can play you and give you haste if I don't get Wasteland with this trigger on the stack. So let's see if that happens. It should. It doesn't. Nice. So I will Memory Guardian. I should have left Island up. It is just the better play versus active Wasteland. My spell resolves. Well, do I get haste? Fatal Push doesn't kill this. The 3 life, discard a card. 1 would. Anguished Unmaking? No, I think that's the Orzhov one from one of the Ravnica sets. I always forget the name of this card. Alright, my opponent just takes 10 to the face. Or wait. Yeah, my opponent takes 10 to the face. Yeah, they're cracking clues, which is fine by me. They have not impacted the board at all. That's another island coming down. That's not a fetch land to clear stuff. That's a Goyf, which I'll bounce out of play. And that can't attack anymore. New Urza Saga. That's very good, actually. So let's return the Goyf to play since it's the more expensive one. Then I will bash in for 4 points of damage, killing Tamio. And then I have enough to Metallic Rebuke a Goyf if my opponent plays it, or I just attack them in the air for lethal. I think my opponent lost that game when they did not wasteland my Urza Saga with the mana producing trigger on the stack. Yeah, opponent says GG's. They know that I've got it. We win the match there. But boy, that felt scary. Man, my Kingdom for an Ancient Tomb with this hand. This is a good set of cards. It's a little slow. I think I'm going to try to keep it. I might be playing Chalice on turn 2 before Patchwork Automaton. We could just Yu-Gi-Oh! Part of the cards will Ancient Tomb to the top of my deck. I am in a little bit of bad shape. My opponent might just kind of go off before I get anything going here. Chalice on 1 is not good in this matchup. Patchwork Automaton scaling is not ideal here. And my opponent has main deck Karn. Ancient Tomb comes down. We've got Glaring Fleshraker, which I don't have an immediate answer to, and I don't have enough mana to copy it with Mockingbird. Alright. Just a quick note. My deck does have a bunch of zero-cost artifacts, and the zero-cost artifacts that I have are currently quite good. Now I could make my own Glaring Fleshraker. Yeah, let's get weird. So Mockingbird, make a Glaring Fleshraker, and next turn I go something like Patchwork, maybe Memory Guardian 2? I think I'm a little light on mana there. My opponent's last card needs to be a payoff card here, or I'm actually okay. Famous last words. That is a Kozilek's command for X equals 5. So most of my life total is just going down the drain here. I am at 10. Oh no. And there's a Karn. So I am at 9 life, and my opponent gets another artifact. It's a Mystic Forge, which my opponent can cast immediately. This is probably just the point where I concede. My opponent's start just came out of the gates too quickly for me. This does fly, so I can block here. Or sorry, I can attack there. Glaring Fleshraker probably just kills me. And in game 1, I don't really answer creatures. Like, I have a bounce spell, that's about it. So I just need to kill through this. So I think this involves this happening. Let's yield to that ability as well. Opponent's at 15. Memory Guardian just costs too much right now. I think I will go Patchwork Automaton next. I'll always yield to this as well. Now, I think I'm going to put the Chalice on 1 for keys. This scales up my Patchwork friends yet again. Then my flying version of this, I think, needs to attack Karn so Ensnaring Bridge doesn't happen. But I am not quite going to face fast enough here. And this Chalice, if it is air quotes good, just gets plussed by Karn. So, IDK. There's a Grim Monolith. Mana is absolutely not a bottleneck with Manifold Key and Grim Monolith. And my opponent can also untap their Mystic Forge. Yeah, okay. So there goes the Chalice. Now there's a new key. Untap Forge. Get another look. Some Ancient Tomb damage for a Kozilek's command. And that is going to be the final damage that kills me for X equals 3. I'll concede here. Like, my board is good. But I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 power. 5 mana available, a stock up, and a Memory Guardian available for next turn. But this board was just better. I think my opponent is very, very favored in this matchup. Disruptor Flute is great. Pithing Needle is good. Harbinger is slow, but I'll consider it. Dismember is fine. Spellbomb might be necessary. Shadow Spear I'll think about. Chalice of the Void is awkward here. I think Mockingbird is not optimal. I think I want to come out the gates quickly if I can. I am absolutely the beatdown. My opponent has inevitability over what I do. Don't need Tormod's Crypt. Harbinger of the Seas is a little awkward in that sometimes when I play it, my opponent has an Urza Saga on 2. I'm going to cut the Warring Triad. It is a mana rock that is often going to get shut off by Karn, meaning it doesn't self-fuel itself. And then maybe I cut one, like, Mox Opal or something like that. My opening hand has 1 mana. I have an interactive card, but, well, kind of 2 interactive cards, but I don't really have a way forward this game. I'm going to mulligan this one. This is fine. I think I'm going to get rid of Seat as it gets shut off by Karn. I'm going to need some help off the top. So I get to play a threat on turn 1, scale it up once, and then presumably within the first 2 turn cycles, I end up using Force of Will on something. Ancient Tomb. I'm going to let that resolve. I have 1 piece of interaction. I don't know that I get to go after the mana. All right. How much do you cost? You cost 3. Absolutely. And I'm going the beatdown route here. You cost 2, so I can't cast you and then try to luck into something that pairs with Force of Will. Nor do I think I should do that anyway. Planar Nexus. That is happening. Again, I'm not going after mana. I am trying to go after my opponent's payoff cards here. Untap. Big mana. I will counter this. The fear here is that my opponent has a second 4 mana card. 1, 2, 3, and 4. That is Candelabra. Don't care about that. Alright, nice. Booties. I'd rather keep Lotus Petal in play, I think. So, yeah. Where does the ward go? On the one that's easier to get rid of via Kozilek's command, I suppose. 10 damage. Opponent's at 7. And this is fully, do they top deck a 4 mana Haymaker? They don't, and I win. Force of Will, confirmed good. On the draw, my Harbinger of the Seas is very, very slow. And it's not going to stop my opponent's initial wave of stuff. That might become something else here. That might just be play the Mox Opal again as something that triggers Patchwork Automaton or gets in play to help cast Metallic Rebuke. This is fine. I have Disruptor Flute for my opponent's first... Magic Online, I am aware. I know that you're going down for maintenance. Alright, Ancient Tomb, Grim Monolith, that's resolving. Looks like my opponent is doing a big play on turn 1. Another Grim Monolith. That is a lot of mana. That is a lot of mana. Alright. We are untapping the Monoliths. This is 6 mana for the 1 ring, which I will Disruptor Flute, so this is okay. My opponent will have a lot of mana, some of which is a little more awkward than normal. Ooh. Alright. Ancient Tomb. Disruptor Flute. The 1 ring. Turn that off. We'll go Lotus Petal. We'll go Mox Opal. We will go Emery. Lava Spur Boots in graveyard. I don't think I need to play Shadow Spear immediately for any reason. I'll pass the turn here. So my opponent loses 1 each turn to the 1 ring, maybe 2 each turn to Ancient Tomb. Probably not with double Grim Monolith here, although they have to take 2 this turn to start untapping their Grim Monoliths unless they hit another land drop. Ooh, there is not another payoff card. That is excellent for me. I'm gonna lose some life to go ahead and stock up here. I would love to see Force of Will blue card, honestly. I didn't, but I do see Disruptor Flute. I think I will go Flute Guardian. So land drop, Lotus Petal, Memory Guardian at 1 mana. I'm gonna try to hold this for a turn. If I put Lava Spur Boots in play now, I can attack with a Memory Guardian this turn. And then also attack with another one next turn, I think. Yeah. Again, I am very much viewing myself as the beatdown here. So next turn I have 1 mana Memory Guardian from graveyard, 1 mana Equip, and then 2 mana Disruptor Flute, probably on Karn. And it feels like that probably wins. We have some tapping and untapping of mana here. It is a new 1 ring. That gives my opponent protection for a turn cycle. Saga is fine and good. So I will play that. Will Memory Guardian for 1 mana. I will play a Shadow Spear. I am not equipping. I think I'll pass the turn. I'm not going to Disruptor Flute until Karn goes on the stack. I think I want my opponent to waste the mana and like the untaps and stuff. Planar Nexus. Opponent's got mana. I have 3, 7, 8, 9 damage showing. Alright, opponent went into the tank. They are Bosejuing my Urza's Saga. That's fair. That was more haste damage than what I had counted. I will pick up an island. Opponent's just going to untap their mana. That's fine. I'm still going to hold this for versatility. Minamo can untap an Emery. So I'll play this. I will equip a Shadow Spear to my biggest one to gain the most life. I guess I can get cute. So Emery, target Lotus Petal, cast Lotus Petal, untap Emery, go to combat, send in. Opponent is at 3. And I have Disruptor Flute for hopefully whatever Haymaker they draw. It is just a land. Turns out the aggressive Memory Guardians are actually pretty good at closing out the game versus combo. GG's. Alright, final round here. This doesn't do anything. This just does not have any permanent mana. We will mulligan this one. Ancient Tomb, Patchwork Automaton, turn 2, Chalice, Island, have Force of Will, pitching, Thoughtcast. This is pretty darn good. There is some crazy bird outside. I don't know that you all will be able to hear that all, but whatever bird that is, it was sweet. So loud. Tundra and Ponder. Maybe Nadu? I wonder if it is correct to just jam Chalice on 1. Now that I know that my opponent is a cantrip deck. If my opponent specifically is Nadu, I don't want them to have a chance to sneak in a Nomad's Daze. I think I'm forcing. I force and pitch Thoughtcast, keep Emery. Alright, nice. Wasteland, sure. Glad I have this island. So my Emery right now costs 2, so I can't cast this. I'll be passing the turn here. But any mana source gets me going. Opponent has Bauble. So I don't know, maybe a Jeskai, Corey, Steelcutter, Lanaseer deck. I could play Chalice on 0 and then Emery, but I don't know that that is correct. So let's not. If I accelerate Emery out and then like the Baubles and Lotus Petals and Opals just become dead draws, that doesn't feel great. That, on the other hand, feels great. I think Emery is better than Patchwork. Emery has a chance to get me more mana to make the Urza Saga actively better. That did not happen, though. Opponent can be growing a Murktide there. That might not actually be a mistake. Yep. That is a 6/6 creature through my Chalice of the Void. And again, I am not good at answering creatures in game 1, so that's very scary. I'm 1 draw step away from that being great. How much do you cost? Way too much. I don't have the Spellbomb in game 1. It's devastating. And I can't play Seat from Graveyard. I can only cast from Graveyard. Alright. I think I'm dead to this Murktide. Alright, it is Jeskai. There's Corey Steelcutter. Anyway, if you were wondering why I always say that Chalice of the Void does not feel like it used to, this is it. This is 100% it. I will take a Billion D. So I'm going to float a mana, and then try to figure out what the fuck I'm doing with my life. It's probably just Mox Opal. Not having the bounce spell in game 1 here is rough. Alright, I control 3 artifacts. Patchwork, cast. I control 4 artifacts. We're going to swing for the fences here. We're going to Thoughtcast. Okay, good. This is what I wanted to happen. So now I hit my land, meaning that I can play a Memory Guardian for 1 mana. I, in theory, block this. I think I am taking a hit for 3 and then double blocking Murktide Regent. I believe that is my plan. Yeah. Wasteland's very good here. Insane. Murktide alone attacking. My opponent gives up. So they just gave up assuming that I'm going to Memory's Guardian block and recur with Emery, I guess. I don't know that that game was over, but I'll take it. Okay, so I have Hydroblasts for Quarry Steelcutter. I need Aether Spellbomb. Probably need Shadow Spear. I can think about these. I don't know that I am doing Tormod's Crypt to try to stop Murktide Regent from getting into play. I think the Warring Triad is a little slow. My opponent's deck is probably very low to the ground. We didn't see them. I assume there are Dragon's Rage Channelers in there. Those go well with the Baubles too. How do I feel about Chalice? I am boarding in at least 4 cards that go against my own Chalice, 2 of which I think are very important, but both of those are too durable off of Saga. I could not Force of Will against the Pyroblast deck. That seems reasonable, but Force of Will is going to stop like Quarry Steelcutter after I tap out. I might just not do this on the draw. Like I do this, I do this. That gets me to here. I could play Chalice again on the play, I think. This is a mediocre hand that I think I will be keeping. Tundra and pass. Now this is probably a good hand. I think I am just going to put my Spellbomb into play for the future. I don't really care if this gets countered. I'm going to view that as increasing my artifact count. Brainstorm is fine. Blooded Strand clears. There's a Dragon's Rage Channeler, which I will consider Hydroblasting, which I will Hydroblast. I guess the next question is, when do I do that? I would really like to play Patchwork Automaton and Bauble and get that going, but it may just be that I am firmly in the control role right now, and I should just wait to play Patchwork Automaton around days so I don't lose it. That'll slow me down on casting stock up as well. Alright, let's take it out. And this does mean that it is longer until I get my redraw off of Mishra's Bauble, and potentially something like a Null Rod comes down and makes it so that I can't cash in that card. Wasteland's great for my opponent. It's going to keep me from casting this stock up in the short term. They are not doing it, which might mean that they are hard casting a Brazen Borrower, or waiting for Urza's Saga. Alright, so I will Patchwork Automaton. I will Mishra's Bauble. That is a Swords to Plowshares. Paying for the Ward 2. I can save my own creature here. Is that worth it? I don't know that that's worth it. Look at your top card. A Preordain. Sure. I draw Shadow Spear. And opponent can cantrip. Bottom. And opponent passes the turn. I'm going to leave the Spellbomb in play. I'm not cycling this or anything. Memory Guardian, you cost 3. Stock up. If one of these gets countered, I will let it be. Well, the Thoughtcast gets cheaper in time over theory. No, we will stock up, even though it is the better card. Alright, that occurs. There's another land drop. Ooh, okay, so we got a full card out of this. That's the good news. The bad news is this probably means that my opponent is about to slam a Murktide Regent, which is not red. Yeah. They're not pulling the trigger on the Wasteland, which is going to let me cast Thoughtcast. So it's essentially free to play Shadow Spear here. There's 3 artifacts in play. Do I want a Memory Guardian first and then Thoughtcast? Sure. That line is worse against Daze, but if this resolves, I get to equip it. Okay. I will pay. It is yet another Daze. Okay. The opponent just had 3 Dazes. If that's the case, I'm very surprised that they did not use their Wasteland. I guess they are super aggressively holding. This is an 8/8 Murktide Regent. Not dying to that Dismember for sure. I will Thoughtcast. Force of Will is not particularly good here. I need a big creature. Or a bounce spell for Murktide Regent. Because I'm just dead to it next turn. I'm at 5. Memory doesn't get me anywhere, because I just die in the air. Dismember doesn't change me dying in the air. Yep, that's a little disappointing. Like, I made choices to intentionally not lose to Murktide Regent, and then lost to Murktide Regent anyway. Given that I am now seeing like things like Prismatic Ending 2, I think I like the Chalice sitting in the sideboard. On the play, I could try to get cute and do something like Harbinger of the Seas to shut off my opponent's colored mana. That seems okay. Do something like go down a Fluster and play one more Oops, I Win button. Yes. Very fast keep from both of us there. Opponent forces. This is not a very good Patchwork Automaton, but it hits play quickly, and I have 2 stock ups to follow it up. I think I will fight despite the fact that this is not like going to be a crazy Patchwork Automaton. It is very hard to efficiently remove this, especially if my opponent's removal of this hand happens to be Prismatic Ending. Alright. I will play Seat and stock up at 15. Get dazed. I don't think I attack into that here. But that may be me missing a point of damage. Opponent is willing to attack. I'll take that point of damage. It is a wasteland. I want to keep my Ancient Tomb based on what I have in this hand. But from my opponent's side of the battlefield, it is probably correct to hit Seat. Emery is cool. I think I'm going to stock up instead while it is not dazable. I will hit a Lotus Petal and a Saga here. I will cast a Lotus Petal. I've already made my land drop. I will cast an Emery. Alright, there's goodies in the graveyard, but my life total is much lower than I would like it to be. I really wanted to hit the flyer. Ooh, never mind. And Sign went to graveyard there. Now, Urza Saga represents Shadow Spear coming, which is the good news here. Patchwork scales up a little more. I will punch my opponent in the face for 3. I think my opponent is favored, but that things are close here. I just think there's too many lines where my opponent plays a Murktide Regent or a Quarry Steelcutter this turn, and I lose before Shadow Spear stabilizes this game for me. It's going to be tight. I'm at 10. Urza Saga ticks up. I will play this. Hit for 3. Opponent is at 10. Ooh. That's 7. This is still only 2. There's only instants and lands in graveyard. Opponent hasn't hit like a Preordain or a Ponder or something to grow stuff yet. Block? Yes, that's a good sign. So I will make a friend. This is 3 power in play. Okay. Okay, my opponent is just conceding there. We'll absolutely take it. And that is a 4-1 finish to this league. And we 5-0'd yesterday, so that is 9-1 with these blue Artifact Ancient Tomb decks. Alright, let's wrap this one up. Overall thoughts on the deck list. Solid. I am very unsure about the numbers in this deck. I feel like this is pretty good, but should you be playing 4 stock-ups? Should you be playing 4 Emerys? Should Shadowspear and or Aether Spellbomb be in the main deck? Should Mockingbird be here? Should Warring Triad be cut? Should there be more copies of this card so you effectively have more Patchwork Automatons at the start of the game? How good is Planisphere compared to Patchwork Automaton if you can't cast it just directly off of Ancient Tomb? This is the sort of thing that I feel like I would have to iterate on for a very, very long time to get things in the right place. I think I used just about everything in the sideboard today with the exception of the Crucible of Worlds. That kind of goes with my initial thought that that was the weakest card in the 75. I'm very happy that I added more blue sources into the deck and took out the flex colorless lands. Overall, I'm going to give this one a thumbs up. This felt pretty good. Damien, good work. Keep it up. And with that, I think I'm going to call it a day, folks. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day. If you have any thoughts about like the deck construction, throw it down in the comments below. See ya.